Kripam Kuru Mahadevi Suteshu Pranateshu Cha Charanasrayadanena Kripa
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The subject of this morning's talk is living peace through the 4 yogas. We will look at how we can attain peace and freedom by practicing the 4 yogas. First, let me say that when I say Vedanta, I am referring to the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Vedanta as taught by Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. Whatever I say today is not mine, but is based on the inspiration I have been given by these spiritual teachings. Swami Vivekananda says, "My ideal can be put in a few words, and that is to preach to mankind their divinity and how to manifest this divinity in every moment of life." Yoga, according to Swami Vivekananda, is practice of the harmony of all 4 yogas. Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. Bhakti Yoga, the path of the lover of God, or the spiritual ideal. Raja Yoga, the path of concentration and meditation. And Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge or self-inquiry. He tells us to harmonize all 4 yogas and practice them in our daily lives. By doing this, we develop an integrated personality and are able to make all our activities balanced. The veil of ignorance drops more and more as our body, mind, and senses, thoughts, words, and actions become more and more purified. In choosing the good over the pleasant, the ethical over the unethical, the truth over the false, we become more and more spiritual. We accept the truth that the good is not always pleasant, and the pleasant is not always good for us. By looking in ourselves, we find that there is more to living than what is offered to us by the material world. One Swami said that blending the 4 yogas is like putting our lives in 4-wheel drive. More power comes to us in order to walk on the spiritual path in peace, joy, and confidence. Vedanta teaches that the goal of yoga is union of the individual self with God or the spiritual ideal. One does not have to believe in God to practice yoga, but spiritual living is made easier by a belief in a power higher than one's ego. Vedanta teaches that the practice of the 4 yogas individually or collectively is one way of attaining spiritual union. Our Vedanta teachers say that right here and right now we can begin the practice of yoga, and we are further told that we should practice this yoga in every aspect of our lives. We are instructed that we are to practice yoga with no thought of past or future, but in the now. In this way, we progress spiritually. In whatever station of life we find ourselves, we are to practice yoga. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi was the embodiment of effortless spiritual living. In her article, Jnana Yoga According to the Holy Mother, Pravrajika Shantiprana says, Mother took the whole world into her being. It was her own spiritual experience, and she said it will come to all aspirants in time. Once she said, in the fullness of time, one's spiritual realization will find that he who resides in one's heart resides in the hearts of others as well. The oppressed, the persecuted, the untouchable, the outcast. This realization makes one truly humble. Sri Ramakrishna says, there is gold buried in your heart, but you are not yet aware of it. It is covered with a thin layer of clay. Once you are aware of it, all these activities of yours will lessen. Go forward. A woodcutter once entered a forest to gather wood. A brahmachari said to him, go forward. He obeyed the injunction and discovered some sandalwood trees. After a few days, he reflected, the holy man asked me to go forward. He didn't tell me to stop here. So he went forward and found a silver mine. After a few days, he went still further and discovered a gold mine, and next mines of diamonds and precious stones. With these, he became immensely rich. Through selfless work, love of God grows in the heart. The seeker, through his grace, realizes him in course of time. God can be seen. One can talk to him as I am talking to you. The words I have said are really superfluous. You know all this, yet you simply aren't conscious of it. Our spiritual teachers say that it is important to choose the spiritual path of our own free will. Little by little, we see that our self-effort and the grace of God, or the higher power, have worked together to put us on the spiritual way. Swami Vivekananda says, all religion is attained by what we in India call yoga, union. To the worker, it is union between a person and the whole of humanity. To the mystic, it is between one's lower self and higher self. To the lover, it is union between oneself and the God of love. And to the philosopher, it is union of all existence. This is what is meant by yoga. Vedanta teaches that we are all free here and now, only we have forgotten this fact. We may think, well, this fact is rather encouraging. It sounds good, but how can I do this? Vedanta is practiced by means of the 4 yogas can show us how. We can choose to rediscover the truth by practicing yoga in a balanced way. Thus, our journey on the spiritual path becomes fuller and sweeter. By blending the 4 yogas, we develop into a whole person and are able to engage with all life situations in a holistic way. How does practice of the 4 yogas work in our daily lives? The goal of each yoga is the realization of the divinity already within us, and we are asked to manifest that divinity in our everyday lives, to become fuller, more peaceful, more joyful, more meaningful. To realize the true meaning of life is to live spiritually, yet practically. We must be able to apply our spiritual practices to everyday life. By choosing to seek the highest truth, we not only help ourselves, but we help those around us. We are truly beneficial beings when we work at making all our thoughts, words, and actions in sync with spiritual life. We become complete in ourselves. As we walk the spiritual path, our steps become surer and steadier until we come to a point where we never make a false step. We take the example of our spiritual guides who have realized the truth or are well established on the spiritual path. These illumined teachers say we can also realize the same truth. The spiritual way of life and self-realization is available to all right here and now, but we have to choose and believe in it. It is said, that which we think we become. Also it is said that today's imagination is tomorrow's realization. Theodore Roosevelt tells us his own experience. He says, when living in the West, he means in the Western United States, while living in the West, as a rancher, there were all kinds of things of which I was afraid, ranging from grizzly bears to mean horses and gunfighters. But by acting as if I was not afraid, I gradually ceased to be afraid. Most men can have the same experience if they choose. If I had not been for many years in North Dakota, he wrote, I never would have become President of the United States. All our experiences become positive because we choose to be positive, grounded in the spiritual approach to living. We move effortlessly along the spiritual path. If we have lapses, that is all right, because we work at bringing ourselves back to seeking the spiritual goal. Swami Vivekananda assures us that 100 times we may stumble, 100 times we may fail, but in the end, we will realize God. Each soul, he says, is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control, Buy one or more of these, or all of them, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples are but secondary details. Practice of the 4 yogas is about God realization. In the soul is all the power needed to succeed spiritually. It helps, of course, that this makes sense to us. It also helps that we yearn for the realization of the spiritual truth within us. The problem is we are looking in the wrong direction. We are looking to the external for our peace, joy, and fulfillment. We need to turn within to find true fulfillment. The practice of the 4 yogas in everyday life is accessible to all, in whatever life station one may be. This noble practice may be done anywhere in any situation. The choice is ours, whether or not we want to take it on. We cannot force others into following this path, for each person is great in his or her own place. Vedanta teaches that we are all evolving toward the same goal, but our methods are various. The results of our past actions, each of us must deal with in his or her own way. The actions of this life we have control over and can choose to deal with in a spiritual way. That is why if we choose to do good and be good in this life, we will be happier for it. Illumination is possible if we want it enough. Swami Ashokananda says, the spirit will give you no peace. The body and the mind have to surrender themselves to the spirit. Only then comes peace. We see only part of the picture, but as we train ourselves through spiritual practices, we come to see the whole picture, and true understanding will come to us. If we choose to take instruction from a spiritual teacher, we must follow his or her instructions. This helps greatly in subduing the ego. And seeking out the company of other spiritual seekers of like mind is a great help in walking steadily and confidently on the spiritual path. There is always strength in numbers. Trying to go out on our own can be risky and lonely. Once I heard one of our monastic sisters say, "We are the alone living with the alone." Of course, that statement suited her temperament, and she was, after all, quoting the scriptures. Growing up as an only child, I thought, that doesn't sound great to me. Of course, a person from a large family may say, that sounds great to me. Really speaking, whether alone or with others, the truth of the matter is we are all really in the same band playing different instruments. The trick is to be in harmony. The more we live in harmony, the more our life situations will become spiritually charged. There is no fixed order to practice the 4 yogas. The practice can be adjusted to our own individual journey. Yoga is a way of life. The practice of yoga necessitates being ethical, disciplined, truthful, and introspective. Without higher principles, yoga practice will not be fruitful. It will remain mechanical, dry, and unappealing. Really speaking, if a person is not in possession of higher principles in his or her life, the practice of yoga probably will not appeal. And unless a person chooses to surrender to his or her ego, unless a person chooses to surrender his or her ego to a higher power, The ego will be an obstacle to spiritual practice. Higher principles provide a recipe of living in the world with ease and integrity. These principles are deeply embedded in the culture of yoga practice that has been practiced for 1,000 years. These principles are clean living, ethical living, disciplined living, introspective living. To do good and to be good is the slogan. At first, this way of life may seem hard, but in the end, it brings true freedom. These higher principles are the starting point of yoga practice. Beginning as we are, we strive to do better and better. One Swami put it this way: "You are doing good, now do better. You can always do better." Or he would say, "That is all right, now do better." The choice is ours and is naturally part of our evolution. The key to success in yoga is to consciously choose higher principles. Say, "I can do this. I want to do this. I will be happier for doing this," and go forward. When we choose to put higher principles to play in our lives, we create well-being for ourselves and others. We are instructed to avoid behaviors and attitudes that produce suffering and obstructions in ourselves and others. Embracing these principles in conjunction with the practice of the 4 yogas will lead us to a greater state of happiness. Choosing that which is good over that which is pleasant may seem difficult at first, but as we continue to do this, we realize that we are happier and more peaceful within ourselves and in our dealings with life. Seeking the higher over the lower in our lives causes us to naturally become nonviolent, truthful, self-controlled, selfless, calm, and accepting. We start by choosing this higher way of life, and in the end, we realize that it is God's will and grace that has been guiding us. A power greater than ourselves has been prompting us from within. Among the basic principles we are asked to practice in our lives are nonviolence, or non-harming. In the Yoga Journal, Hilary Dowd and Kate Seiber write, "We are given the opportunity to give up hostility and irritability and instead invite the presence of peace into our lives. In that space, all anger, agitation, and aggression resolve themselves. This allows a person to let others be who and what they are and relate to the world in a holistic way. In the practice of nonviolence, the spiritual aspirant is asked to look at all the attitudes he or she might have been harboring that may be keeping one from feeling at peace. The idea is to practice yoga in an integrated, harmonious way that benefits oneself and others in all parts of life. We are asked to become the yoga that we are practicing and to become free of all forms of lower nature, attitudes, and behavior. This is the only way we can become who we really are. Lower thoughts themselves are a form of violence. Observe the negativity of these lower thoughts and step away from them. Vedanta teaches us to detach ourselves from the negative and accept the positive way of living. Negativity serves to drag us down. Positivity causes us to be uplifted. Don't feed negative thoughts. Drop them and replace them with positive thoughts. Negativity is false. Positivity is true. The practice of virtues such as nonviolence leads to a dynamic peace, a living peace in our lives. Other virtues to be cultivated are truthfulness, contentment, self-acceptance, love, and a lasting connection with the divine. We are asked to purify our body and mind, to discriminate between the real and the unreal, and to discern what is true and what is false. We are told to avoid stealing and possessiveness, the sense of this is mine. We should introspect and observe our habits and work at changing our lives for the better. We should conserve our energy, thereby bringing strength into our spiritual practices. These principles show us how to relate properly and successfully to the people and situations around us. The philosophy of yoga says, one Swami, the philosophy of yoga, says one Swami, teaches us the root cause of our sorrows and suffering in loss of contact with our inmost self. Our recovery is only possible in reestablishing contact with our innermost self, the reality of all realities, and by recognizing that knowledge of the true self is our only salvation. All paths of yoga are fulfilling. Meditation is fulfilling, devotion is fulfilling, selfless service is fulfilling, the search for knowledge is fulfilling. Swami Vivekananda teaches that if we do the work that is of help to others. It is a great blessing to be of help to others without any motive at all. The second would be if we have faith in a higher power, faith in God. We are blessed, so cultivate that. Create a deep, loving presence of God within. The third, the meditative path. Spend time in deep meditative quietness. Go into a solitary place and shut the door. Shut down all around you, all good and bad, and go within. Retreat in as much stillness as you can. The fourth is the inquiry into ourselves. The actual, he says, should be reconciled with the ideal. The present life should be made to coincide with the eternal life. The one central ideal of Vedanta is oneness. There is but one life, one existence. Everything is that one. The difference is in degree, not kind. From the standpoint of the highest ideal, the lowest animal, the most basic life form, are the same, are the highest being, the illumined one. It is ignorance or forgetfulness that is blocking our way to this higher knowing, this higher realization. Ignorance of what? Of the true nature of life. Our spiritual teachers say we should practice covering everything with the divine, practice seeing God in everything, and act properly and appropriately according to the spiritual teachings and teachers who have realized the truth. As we practice seeing the oneness in all beings, the truth becomes more and more revealed to us, and we see things as they really are. We don't run away from anything in order to have this realization, nor do we become attached to anything. We put ourselves in the hands of our spiritual teachers and live life spiritually, seeing the divine in all. Swami Vivekananda says that life's questions are not to be found by retreating into a Himalayan cave, nor can these questions be answered by embracing the pleasures of the world without seeking the highest ideal. In both ways, we are missing the true path. Life's questions can be answered properly only when we choose to seek and then see the divinity in everything and live our lives knowing, loving, and serving this divinity in all beings and all things. We know but little of what is within us. Behind the world image, under the material surface, is the ocean of infinite power and blessedness. Sri Ramakrishna calls the world an insane asylum. It is the play of Mother Kali with us as the players. We can either play with her or against her. It is our choice. If we flow with the will current of the Mother, it is easier. If we swim against the divine current, we will be knocked around until we finally realize flowing with her will carry us higher and higher. Left to ourselves, we are likely to be dragged down lower and lower. This is how it seems. Really speaking, we remain the same, high or low. If we consciously choose to step on the higher path, we gain true peace and freedom from suffering, even in this very life. This is what Vedanta teaches. Swami Vivekananda tells us to harmonize all four yogas and practice them in our daily lives. By doing this, we develop an integrated personality and are able to make all our activities balanced. He says in the complete works, which I have said, that each soul is potentially divine. Sri Ramakrishna said, Vedanta teaches that our daily lives only become better and better as we choose the higher and lower way of living. By choosing the higher over the lower, we will gain the depth and breadth necessary to live a fully successful and meaningful life, an enlightened life. The enlightened life is our inheritance. Sooner or later, we will gain this enlightened state of being. Why not choose the higher life now and see what happens? We have lived many lives in the external world of conflict and suffering. Why not choose to live this life seeking spiritual enlightenment? Swami Vivekananda says that every day we reinvent our world. Our world changes. Nothing exists for us aside from our own worldview. We get the world and the conditions and the situations we deserve. This may be hard to swallow, but think about it. Be honest about it. It is a fact. Admit it and go forward like the woodcutter. Experiment. Can we be like that woodcutter in our daily lives? Can we go forward? Practice by asking, is this all there is to life? Is there a better way of living? Or, who am I really and why am I really here? We are instructed to ask these essential questions because this inquiry acts like a hammer breaking down the shell of ignorance. Fearlessly we question. Of course, in order to start questioning in this way, we need to have a certain amount of discontentment with the way things are in our lives. We need to be seeking a better way. It is the blows and sufferings of life that help us do this. As we begin this essential questioning, the spiritual path begins opening up to us. We begin meeting people of like mind and encountering situations that show us the superiority of spiritual practice and living. It is all in the divine plan, all in divine order. Our lives seem to make more sense. We feel lighter and more peaceful in our daily activities. We begin to realize that a higher power working in our lives is not a fiction or a fairy tale. This spiritual way of living is possible for us, not just for someone else who we consider to be more spiritual. Spiritual life is for everyone, not just a select few. Today's imagination is tomorrow's realization. This imagination is based on truth at every step, each step being a fact in our inquiry into truth. We are instructed to see the divine within us first, to look within first. As this divine vision becomes more and more clear, we see the divine in others and finally experience all existence as divine. The self is common to all. The same reality is in all. We are instructed to turn inward and see this divine reality, to pursue the question, who am I, to the very core of our being. The soul must have a certain amount of freedom to seek God, which means freedom of the will. The will must be freed from both good and bad tendencies and emotions. It is through practice of the 4 yogas in our everyday life that we gain freedom of will. By the practice of selfless work, prayer, meditation, inquiry, and love, as shown to us by the harmony of the 4 yogas, we cannot help but succeed. There will come a time when some experience or situation in life comes and we say, enough. Then what? We surrender to a higher power. We make the mind our friend by practice of the 4 yogas in everyday life. It does not mean shutting off life. It means controlling the mind because it will bring peace, freedom, and enlightenment. Choose to be fearless in your belief that spiritual life is possible and necessary for our ultimate survival. Be a master over your mind, not the mind as the master. Be in the long run, but in the long run, it will be a happier mind if under your control. We are instructed to work at making life better and better. Choose to control the mind because it will bring peace, freedom, and enlightenment. In the long run, it will be a happier mind if under control. Take refuge in God, take refuge in a higher power, and this power will lead you out of darkness into light. The more you practice choosing the higher above the lower, the more light will come. This is the truth. One Swami put it this way. He asked, how can we be engaged in life and stay out of trouble? He answers, at the level of our actions, we move from the unethical to ethical. If being ethical causes us to lose friendships, then we must choose to do so. Having such jobs or friendships is not beneficial to a spiritual seeker. We are asked to choose the good over the pleasant, he says, the easy. This choice may be uncomfortable in the beginning, but it would bring happiness and peace in the end. Let us clean up our lives as much as possible. Be truthful, no matter how unpleasant. Speaking the truth will bring happiness in the end. Move from selfish actions to selfless actions. No one can be peaceful without becoming selfless. Live a life of usefulness to others. We will find that the more selfless we are, the happier we become. We become free from mental tension by being selfless. One great Swami put it this way, when I close my eyes, I find peace. When I open my eyes, my attitude is, what can I do for you? This is spirituality. Make the mind happier by devotion to God or a higher power, a higher ideal. Live as the holy ones lived. Use them as your example. Practice seeing God in everything, including yourself. Cover everything with God or the divine. You will see that ignorance will fade away. Be persistent. Meditation is a great help in controlling the mind. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Meditation on God or truth or a higher ideal will lead to a dynamic peace coming to play in our everyday lives. A pure heart, a pure mind goes directly to God, to the divine. Impurity of the heart drags us down. Attempt at meditation shows how much our situation in life, suffering, has become done by the flickering of the mind. Don't give too much importance to the ups and downs of the mind. When our situations in life become a burden, we are instructed to say to ourselves, "This is all part of my purification process." This gives hope that our lives can be and will become better and better. That our life experiences are meant to teach us something and help us grow spiritually is possible. Learn from our experiences and move on. Ask, how is this experience helping me grow spiritually? And call upon the truth as taught by our spiritual teachers and teachings to reinforce our earnestness in making our lives spiritual. The grace of God, along with our own self-effort, can carry us higher and higher. We have to pray for purification of the mind and heart and move forward with our spiritual practices in order to make this purification happen. What we know is not the world, but our response to the world. The impure mind sees through a glass darkly. A pure mind sees the effulgent presence of God. The pure mind sees God face to face. When love is the power and the motive, we never get tired. Choose love. Not diversity, but unity. Diversity is many. Unity is but one. Discrimination is many. Inclusiveness is one. Through the 5 She's, we experience the world. Look within for the real doer. Call it the Divine Mother, God, or the Oversoul. But whatever names it is the one reality. Say, the Divine Mother is doing all this. I am the witness of her divine play. Problems are in the body and the mind. Everything is changing. Choose freedom and be free by holding on to the divine. Eventually, each individual will come to realize the truth. We will naturally do this by evolution or consciously by spiritual practices. Vedanta teaches that it is in the human body that the true meaning of life can and will be realized. We experience the world through our own filter. No one sees the world the same. There are shared experiences, yes, but each of us has a unique viewpoint of the world. We must go within and see the highest truth. Swami Atulananda, Guru Das Maharaj, says, "This world is full of problems and contradictions. The only way to peace is to get out of it by attaining knowledge." We are asked to remember what we have forgotten. We are the divinity right here and right now. Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached, teaches the Upanishad. The goal and the means are the same, to realize God within and without, is in this very lifetime, in this very body. May Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda, as well as all the great saints, seers, and incarnations, bless us. May the gracious Divine Mother illumine us, make our way clear before us, that we may walk on the spiritual path in truth and in confidence, is my earnest prayer.
माटी कहे कुम्हार से तू क्या रोद मोहे, एक दिन ऐसा आएगा मैं रो दूंगी तो है। माटी कहे कुम्हार से तू क्या रोद मोहे, एक दिन ऐसा आएगा मैं रो दूंगी तो है। आए हैं तो जाएंगे राजा रंग फकीर, आए हैं तो जाएंगे। आए हैं तो जाएंगे राजा रंग फकीर, एक सिंहासन चढ़ चले एक बांधे जंजीर, एक सिंहासन चढ़ चले एक बांधे जंजीर। दुर्बल को न सताए जाकी मोटी हाय, बिना जीव के श्वास से लोह भस्म हो जाए। दुर्बल को न सताए जाकी मोटी हाय, बिना जीव के श्वास से लोह भस्म हो जाए। चलती चाकी देख के दिया कबीरा रोए, दो पठन के बीच में बाकी बचा न कोई, बाकी बचा न कोई। चलती चाकी देख के दिया कबीरा रोए, दो पठन के बीच में बाकी बचा न कोई, बाकी बचा न कोई। दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे न कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे तो दुख काहे को कोई। दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे न कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे तो दुख काहे को होय। पत्ता टूटा डाल से ले गए पवन उड़ाए, पत्ता टूटा डाल से ले गए पवन उड़ाए। आपके बिछड़े कब मिलेंगे दूर पड़ेंगे जाए, आपके बिछड़े कब मिलेंगे दूर पड़ेंगे जाए। कबीरा आप ठगाइए कबीर आप ठगाए और न ठगिए कोई, आप ठगे सुख उपजे और ठगे दुख होय, और ठगे दुख होय। कबीर आप ठगाए और न ठगिए कोई, आप ठगे सुख उपजे और ठगे दुख होय, और ठगे दुख होय। माटी कहे कुम्हार से तू क्या रोद मोहे, एक दिन ऐसा आएगा मैं रो दूंगी तो है। माटी कहे कुम्हार से तू क्या रोद मोहे, एक दिन ऐसा आएगा मैं रो दूंगी तो है। एक दिन ऐसा आएगा मैं रो दूंगी तो है, मैं रो दूंगी तो है, मैं रो दूंगी तो है।
A few announcements. The subject for next Sunday is Worship of the Living God. This talk will be given by Pravrajika Shantiprana. Child care is provided during our Sunday lectures. On Sunday evenings, Swami Tattvamayananda holds online class at 6 p.m. on the foundational text of Indian philosophy. The Zoom and YouTube links are available on our website's homepage, as well as in the monthly email bulletin. On Wednesday evenings, we have Vespers with meditation at 7:30 p.m. in this auditorium. On Friday evenings, Swami Tattvamayananda holds a scripture class at the Old Temple at 7:30 p.m. Please use the auditorium entrance on Filbert Street. Shankaracharya's Vivekachudamani is the current text for study. The class is also streamed. This year, beginning in April, we have been celebrating our 125th anniversary. The next special program will be held in the South Bay. Of course, it's spiritual too. The next special program will be held in the South Bay on Sunday, August 31st. You and your friends are cordially invited to attend all of our services. After the lectures, there will be a questions and answer sessions in Vivekananda Hall. All are invited to attend. Yananim Sardam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Mahurmuhu. O Mother Sarda, Goddess Divine, and Ramakrishna, the teacher of all, taking shelter at your feet, I salute you both again and again.